Same old Jets once again. Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. The New York Jets just got embarrassed in Arizona as they lose 31-6 to the Arizona Cardinals to fall to 3-7 on the season. They are now an abysmal 1-5 in road games this year. And as for the Arizona Cardinals, they continue their winning ways. They improved to 6-4, winners of 4 in a row now, and they improved to 4-2 at home. This was another typical New York Jets butt kicking, another typical New York Jets no-show. And the season is over. And this is exactly why, as I told many of you last week, and many Jets fans as well, did not buy into one good half against the Houston Texans to get your record to 3-6, because most of us could see this one coming, where the New York Jets were lifeless. They got pushed around. They got embarrassed. They didn't even show up. They didn't even fly out to Arizona. This team did not even show up to the game today. That's how pathetic of a performance this was for this New York Jets team. I really don't even know where to begin. The season's over. You're 3-7. You had a chance. I guess that's where we start, right? You had a chance where last week you go a short week against Houston after a terrible loss against the New England Patriots, 25-22. You go into that Texans game. You win that game against a banged up but still a good Texans team. You have extra time, 9-10 days to prepare for this game. On the road, you know what you're going to get out of the Arizona Cardinals. We all watched that game. Obviously, the Jets did, and obviously Jeff Ulbrich and this coaching staff had no clue, but we all watched that game last week against the Chicago Bears. We all knew what to expect from this Arizona Cardinals offense, and we all knew what to expect from Kyler Murray and this Cardinals team, why they've been so successful. Ground and pound, and he makes the throws that he needs to make, kind of just manages the game. And the New York Jets, yet again, with extra time to prepare, coming off of a Thursday night game, you get the mini bye week, they don't show up. That sounds eerily familiar because earlier in the year, Thursday night game, you beat the Patriots, extra time to prepare for the Denver Broncos. Of course, that was the whole start of this downward spiral that this team has been on since they walked off the field with that week 3 victory over the New England Patriots, which, by the way, feels like ages ago. That game, and I was in the building that night, that game feels like an entire, that game does not even feel like last season. That game feels like multiple seasons ago. That's how bad and how much of a grind it's been watching this team over the last 7 weeks, over the last really month and a half here since that loss, where they've lost 6 of their last 7 outside of the win last week against the Texans. I mean, this was embarrassing on so many levels. And as Jets fans, we're all broken. We're broken. I mean, I've said it for a while now. You know, I've been broken, the last couple games before that Texans game kind of broke you. The New England game broke a lot of people, where you were just kind of numb. You were emotionless. Like you just so numb to it at this point, and you're like, I'm not going to get worked up. I'm going to stop getting frustrated. And here we are. I'm all frustrated. I'm fed up watching the game today, yelling at the TV a ton because, you went into today, you were 3-6. Yes, you had a very slim chance, but the Broncos lost, the Colts lost. The early window games bounced in your direction, and then you go out there today and you don't even show up. And how many times have we seen this in past years where the New York Jets come off of a nice win and you have extra time to prepare, even if you don't have extra time to prepare, but things in the early window, let's say, break their way, or, things go their direction from a playoff standpoint over the last couple seasons, and then show, right? You go 2 years ago, right? They lost that game against Jacksonville, but then the way that weekend played out, things went the Jets' way. Playoff-wise, they ended up getting blown out in Seattle. Even last year, right? The Texans game, they beat the Texans. Zach Wilson played great, one of his best games as a Jet. Unfortunately, came at kind of a meaningless part in the year, but they won that game. And if you remember, they had Miami the next week, right? They had Miami the next week. It was a chance to maybe win that game. Maybe you get Rodgers back at that point for that Commanders game, whatever. We all know, the Black Friday or the Commanders game at that point, Christmas Eve, all that stuff, right? And the Jets got blown out in that game. They got shut out 30-0. And then here we were again today, coming off a nice win, and it's the same old Jets. They get blown out. And we've seen this now so many years. This is why this is the same old Jets. Win a game against the Texans that nobody expects you to win, just like last year, just like the year before that. And then the next week get blown out. 30-0 last year in Miami, 31-6 this year. Previous year, they had a chance late in the year. 2 games could kind of control their own destiny. Blown out against Seattle, got eliminated. All that's like how many more times in games like this do we just need to see this team just get smoked, lifeless, not even ready, and extra time to prepare is the biggest thing. So I know I'm all over the place there in the open, but this was just, again, such a typical example of same old Jets, the stench that's been around this organization for 14 years now, that's not going away anytime soon. When you watch this team week in and week out, continues to linger. And today was another example. 3-7. I mean, 3-7. We talked about, 11-6, 12-5 going into the year. And they are already at 7 losses on November 10th. November 10th. The season really was over before Halloween, but now it's like officially over. Weeks before Thanksgiving. We haven't even cut into our Thanksgiving turkey. Some people may not even have bought in their Thanksgiving turkey, and the season is already bought their Thanksgiving turkey, and the season's already over. And it's been, let's be honest, it's been over. Last week was just a game that we'll look back on that'll probably hurt the Jets from a draft perspective. We know the Jets. They'll win like next week, get to like 4-7, and they'll find a way to muster up and get to 6-7 wins, tank their draft stock, and be on this revolving, just this circle and this revolving door, I guess, of just failure, where it's the same thing every year. So win some meaningless games down the stretch. Talk about how it's positive momentum going into the offseason, which we know now for years now that means nothing. And we'll be back here next year, same time. That's probably what ultimately happens. From this game's perspective, I mean, I have to start with the tackling. I have to. And I'm going to, we'll get into the offense. We'll get into the defense. Like, I have to start with the tackling, though. Like, I do not get how. I've never seen a team in my entire life. Forget the Jets. Just talk about NFL in general. I've never seen an NFL football team, if you can even consider the Jets an NFL football team. They're more like a JV team. So I guess JV team, you can understand tackling problems. But all seriousness, I've never seen a team not know how to tackle. I mean, it is crazy that these guys are getting paid millions on defense, and none of them can tackle. And unfortunately, it's like the same culprits every single week. And it's not just tackling. It's the same mistakes every week. I mean, Sauce Gardner, man. I mean, heck, I know some people stop calling him Sauce, start calling him Ahmad again, because honestly, he does not deserve to be called Sauce right now with the way he's playing. Absolute garbage. That play was terrible. I don't care that Trey McBride is a tight end. I don't care that he's bigger than you. First of all, you should have started lower. You should have went at him lower instead of hugging him and basically, even with, like, you should have went lower, should have went at his legs, which this team does not do. But even then, you had him wrapped up, and you tried to bring him down, and he ripped you right off of him. Sauce has been terrible this year. And I don't care that he's small. I don't care that it's a tight end. You want to get paid $30 million. You want to be the highest paid cornerback, which, by the way, they better not give him a contract. And we'll talk a lot about Sauce, I'm sure, the rest of the season and maybe what you do with him in the offseason. We'll talk about what you do with a lot of these guys as this season continues on here, and once we eventually hit the offseason, once this regular season officially concludes. But you want to be paid all this stuff the way you've played the first 2 years, that's not an excuse. This is pathetic. Week in and week out. It's a soft team. I mean, the first play or first drive today, the James Conner almost touchdown, the big play to get all the way down to the 1 yard line. I believe it was Jalen Mills. Maybe it was Mills. I forget who exactly it was, but you had the play Conner going down the sideline. And he missed him. He dove at him and he missed him. And you've got Sherwood that has to chase him down and brings him down at the 1 yard line just so they can score 2 plays later. They don't know. They cannot tackle. I mean, there was so many multiple plays today. It wasn't even just Connor. There was a play today where DeMarcado, their second running back, their number 2 alongside James Conner, broke 2 tackles and picked up he got hit at the line of scrimmage and ended up picking up 6-7 yards in the play. I mean, it's crazy how incompetent this team is at tackling. And Jeff Ulbricht's tackling presentation will slot right in as another embarrassing moment as a New York Jets head coach. Like so many times in past years, the New York Jets head coaches, whether it's, some of Salah's silly slogans, whether it was, there's so many moments, right, of coaches with dumb things they do that never work. And this is the same thing here with Jeff Ulbricht. The tackling presentation that he showed the team this week. He showed the team on probably a Google slide presentation. He showed the team a presentation on how to tackle. And this is what happened. That's the sad part, though. The head coach, the interim coach, that, by the way, is going to be gone here in a couple months. He is terrible. Talk about in over your head, not having your players ready to go. Jeff Ulbricht he's so overwhelmed. But you've got to present the team how to tackle. And they still couldn't tackle. I mean, God, they stink. The tackling is inept. And it's been that way all year. And you knew coming into this game, you had to stop the run. You had to match Arizona's physicality up front. And they just could not do it from the second this game kicked off. 32 carries, 147 rushing yards, 4.6 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. That is now the 8th time this season. The Jets have played 10 games. That is now the 8th time this season the Jets have given up 110 or more yards in a game. 8 times. 8 out of their 10 games, the Jets have given up at least 110 yards on the ground. I mean, are you kidding me? That's 80% of the games. And it's only going to get worse. You got Jonathan Taylor coming to town next week, and then you got a bye, and then you got Kenneth Walker. I mean, this team, seriously, when all is said and done on this season, this team might allow, out of 17 games, might allow 14 of the 17 where they allow running backs or teams to go over 100 rushing yards, 14 times. It is crazy how incompetent this team is against the run. And the sad part is there's no adjustments. It's the same thing every week. They just get worn down. There's so many holes. The defensive line, they talked about on the broadcast. We've talked about it on here. Gap integrity. There's none of that on this team. And I think that perfectly shifts me into my next point. How many more times do we got to see Michael Clemens take the field for the New York Jets? How many more times? How many times do we have to see this guy take the field and wear this jersey? I mean, it is getting to a point now where you actually, he is so bad. He's so bad. He stinks. Twice today, Kyler Murray scored a touchdown because Michael Clemens could not hold his edge. He's supposed to hold his edge and be kind of the quarterback spy for that play where Kyler Murray fakes it, has that choice to either fake it or take it himself, or fake it and take it himself, or give it off to James Conner. And twice today, when he sees Michael Clemens bite, I mean, everybody in America knows Kyler's probably going to run the football, and he still bites. Twice on James Conner. And the last one was that one you kind of laughed at. The last one late in the game, I think it was to make it 31-6. I believe it was. That was the 12-yard touchdown where Kyler rolled out to his right. That one was that one I was sitting there laughing. I mean, this is the second time he's still out there. Second time he's bit today. And how many times have we seen him this year bite? I mean, Clemens is awful. And Javon Kinlaw is another one. We talk about Joe Douglas. We talk about the issues. We talk about his free agent class. Add Javon Kinlaw to another Joe Douglas free agent bust. I mean, he has been awful this season. 2 offside penalties. Well, 1 got declined, but still offside. And then there was another play where he got a really nice jump. It was a nice play, but then just got a nice jump into the backfield and didn't do anything. Like, he just kept running. He overran the play when he got into the backfield. I believe it was James Conner who got the handoff, and you get a good jump there. That should be a loss of 4 or 5 on the play. You should be able to stuff Conner there. And instead, he kind of just runs. He gets through the line, and Conner just kind of files right in behind him. It was like, what? Kinlaw's been terrible. And it's another sad reminder of how much Joe Douglas has taken this team, or taken this defensive line, rather, and drilled it right into the ground. I mean, Hassan Reddick was nowhere to be seen today. They could barely generate a pass rush. There was none. Part of it, too, was they ran the ball, 32 times? Yeah, 32 times. They ran it 34 times last week. We knew what they were going to do. Everybody in America knew the Arizona Cardinals are going to run the football. And they're going to run it a lot, and they're going to run it well. And you've got to find a way to game plan against it. And they weren't even prepared. Like, this Jets team continues to just not even look like they want to be there. And I've talked about that a lot with this team. You talk about a lot of sports teams. We've had some topics on this podcast recently about the Mets, right? And I'm not a Met fan, as you all know. But the Mets this year were one of those teams where their fan base was able to rally around. Very likable. This is a Jets team that's gone so unlikable. Other than a handful of players, a couple guys here and there that you can pick out, that give maximum effort every week, that look like they want to be there, that actually make plays week in and week out, that actually produce, and there's not many. It's only maybe 3 or 4, and that might be generous. That you can actually kind of get behind and actually walk away from even some of these bad losses and saying he played well or he showed up. Not many. And that's what makes this team so, that's what makes this so sad too. This is not even an easy team right now to root for. It's not. They're not even likable. They're not a likable group because they don't show any effort. It doesn't look like they want to be there. It is. It's so sad. It's pathetic. They're soft. It's hard to get behind a team that's soft. They're a soft football team that every week in and week out look like they want no business being in any of these games. And that's where things stand. And that's why you're 3-7. Defensive line non-existent. Secondary piece non-existent. The tackling. Oh my God, it's dreadful. It's JV football. And not even JV football. This is like your first year out of flag football, where you're trying to teach them how to tackle. That's basically what this is. It's like kids that are in their first year of tackle football. They could tackle better than the Jets. I still can't get over that Sauce play. I still can't get over the Ahmad Gardner play. I cannot get over how sad that was. You've got Trey McBride. I think it was a 3rd and 7. And it was a nice play by Sauce. If he started, it was a nice play. It was all over the route. If he would have made the tackle, it would have only been like a pickup of 2. Probably would have been the best play Sauce has probably had in weeks. And McBride just rips him off of him. Sauce tackles high. He goes high as opposed to going low. And what do you know? A tight end torching the Jets again. That's another thing that's so frustrating about this game. We talked about it yesterday in the preview pod. Watch out for Trey McBride. He went into this game 3rd in the NFL. He went into this game ranked 3rd amongst tight ends in the NFL in receptions and yards. He also went into this game as the most targeted Cardinal on the team. He's got the most receptions on the Cardinals and had the most receiving yards on the Cardinals. We all knew this. He led the team in almost every receiving category other than touchdowns. He has yet to find the end zone yet this year as a receiver, although he did have that touchdown last week against the Bears on the jet sweep. But we all knew the threat Trey McBride poses. And we all knew the Cardinals are going to target him because the Jets struggle against tight ends. And what did the Cardinals do? They looked his way. 4 catches today for 71 yards. The Jets had no answers. We all knew James Conner, watch out. We all knew Kyler Murray, when he rolls out, he can be dangerous. Well, he had 2 rushing touchdowns today. And they rushed for 147 yards as a team. And the Jets were not ready. I mean, are you like, how can this keep happening to let me hold on. Let me drop my pen here. How can this keep happening to a NFL team? How to put the air quotes there. Who am I? Ulbrich. See, I got the pen here. Ulbrich. It doesn't add up. It does add up. It's the Jets, but just so frustrating. So I kind of just went in on the defense there, rightfully so, for about the last 15 minutes. Don't know if I have anything else to say on the defense, really. They were not prepared, had no answers for McBride, no answers for Kyler Murray, no answers for the run game. They had no answers for anybody. Heck, even Marvin Harrison Jr. Had the touchdown. Nice throw by Kyler, nice grab. I thought DJ Reed did not have a great game today. The pass interference was frustrating. You got to turn around and play the ball there. The play on Marvin Harrison Jr. was a good ball, but would have liked to see DJ make a little bit of a better effort to try and get his hand up there. Marvin Harrison kind of just beat him, made a good grab, had the height on him as well. So not DJ Reed's best day. Nobody. I can't think of one guy in the defense that you can actually walk away and say, like, played okay. There was nobody. I mean, nobody on the defense showed up. When you let up 31 points and you let them up the way you did, there's going to be no positives. I mean, let's go through each of the Cardinals' drives, shall we? Touchdown, field goal, touchdown, punt, end of the game. So that was their drives today. And it, those 2 punt and the end of the game, that was, of course, garbage time. So who knows if it was an actual close game, and if the Jets offense was balling, who knows? Cardinals probably could have put up a 40 bomb, because then they took Kyler out and brought in Clayton Tune, I believe it was. So that's never a good thing either. When the backup's in up 25, it means you're having a rough day. And I'm sure if Clayton Tune came in and they actually let him throw, he probably would have had a couple plays, because this Jets defense, if I was out there, they couldn't stop me. So that's the Jets defense. As for the offense, it was not good. They were barely on the field, so it was tough for them to get into a rhythm. Cardinals beat them up time of possession wise. Again, time of possession is a little skewed just because late in the game, the Jets started to kind of drain the clock a little bit. Some of that garbage time yards, which never resulted into anything. But ultimately, it ended 32-27. So got beat up pretty good in the time of possession. But yeah, I mean, like, they couldn't get into rhythm and they were down early. The red zone is pathetic. That's where I really think this game was lost. Like, early on, the Jets were getting some stuff done in between the 20s. And once this team gets inside the 20, for some reason, for years now, they get inside the 20-yard line and there's just nothing. Like, what, and we've talked about this forever. This even goes back to the Mike LaFleur days. Like, when they get third, you trust this offense more in like a 3rd and 10 situation than you do in like 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. And the same goes for the red zone. Anytime this offense gets inside a 10, 5-yard line, inside the 20, when the field gets shorter and things become more condensed and you've got to get a little bit more creative and the margin for error is much smaller, they can never convert. They just can't do it. It's so pathetic. Red zone trips today were a complete disaster. They were 0 for 3 today in the red zone. 0 for 3. When your defense is playing like trash, you cannot settle for field goals. You just can't. And they went for it on that 1 4th down. Rodgers fumbled, got sacked. I mean, that was like, serious? So they were awful in the red zone today. Terrible in the red zone. The first 2 drives resulted in field goals. They were moving the ball a little bit the first 2 drives, but then they got inside the red zone and they couldn't convert, right? It was 11 plays, 63 yards on the first drive, 12 plays, 43 yards on the second drive. But you look up and you're down 14-6. Yeah, well, you got to score those. You got to convert. And then coming out of halftime was brutal. 10 plays, 62 yards. They got lucky with that pass interference. Rodgers threw the pick, but it was a pass interference. So got the automatic first down. They kept moving the ball downfield. It was an opportunity there. They were down 24-6, but a chance there to score a touchdown, make it a 10-point game. Hopefully the defense adjusts. And instead what the Jets do is, and I agreed with the play call, they go for it on 4th down inside the red zone. They were on the Cardinals' 3-yard line. 3-yard line. It was 2nd and 3 from the Cardinals' 3-yard line. Second and goal. From the Cardinals, 2nd and goal from the Cardinals' 3-yard line. And they had 3 chances to get 3 yards. If they just got 1 yard a play, they would have converted. What do the Jets do? They go incomplete to Devontae, 2 incompletions to Devontae. The one, it looked like he completely dropped it, but it was deflected. And then, what do you know? Rodgers was sacked, fumbled it, they recovered, and that's how that drive ended. So the red zone was atrocious. And then from there on out, there was just nothing. Rodgers got beat up. He looked pretty cooked today. Anytime he tried to roll out of the pocket, didn't get anywhere, which really shouldn't be much of a surprise. He's 40 years old, coming off a torn Achilles. The cayenne pepper and water only lasted a week. The run game, again, like early on, it was okay, but when you're down by how much they got down by, you had to get away from the run. Nothing going. Devontae was a non-factor. He was a non-factor. He had, I think it was at one point, he had 4 targets, no catches, and then late in the game, garbage time, ended with 6 catches for 31 yards. So he was a non-factor. Garrett had 5 catches on 6 targets. He didn't get looked a ton. Yeboah, I mean, there was nothing going. Nothing going. Early on, the first 2 drives, they were moving it a little bit the first 2 drives. And once they got inside the red zone, had to convert for kick 2 field goals. And then they started to slow down, came out of halftime, had a good drive coming out of halftime. Looked like they can maybe make it, score, get the 2-point, wishful thinking, make it a 10-point game, kind of get yourself back into it with a good start to the half. And instead, what did they do? They've got 3 chances to pick up 3 yards and get to the end zone, and they could not do it. In fact, they ended up losing, 11 yards on the play, I think it was, because the Rodgers sack was 8 yards, and then the fumble was another 3. So offense was far from where it should be, or where we thought it would be at the beginning of the season. 6 points is 6 points. And the red zone continues to be a problem. It's just it doesn't make sense. And I'll tell you what, we should have known this was going to be, and I'll kind of close out with this. We should have known today was going to be a bumpy day when Mike Williams scored a touchdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers. In his first game, did not have a touchdown with the Jets. In his first game with the Steelers, scores a big touchdown, huge touchdown. Steelers go on to win that game on the road in Washington by 1. And we should have known right then and there, even with the early slate panning out positive, where the Colts lost and the Broncos lost on a miracle block punt by the Chiefs. They had no business winning that game, but they did, or rather block field goal. Will Lutz went in for the chip shot. Of course, it got blocked. Even with the early window helping the Jets out from a playoff perspective, we should have known. Mike Williams touchdown, that was automatically the football gods looking over the Jets and saying it's going to be a bad day. And sure enough, what we got was late in the game, we got a go ball to get Xavier Gipson, 1-on-1, incomplete. I'm thinking to myself, I know a guy that probably could maybe make that play if he was still here. And he's not here. And I think that was part of it too. Without any of these other actual names on the outside, without a Lazard or even a Mike Williams out there, just a pro name, a name that teams have to respect somewhat, you could tell it affected Devontae and Garrett. Because now teams just can put all their focus there. Malachi Corley's not going to beat you. Xavier Gipson's not going to beat you. Heck, are teams scared of like a Kenny Yeboah stepping up? Are teams scared of Irv Charles? No. But what do the Jets do? Trade him away for nothing. And it's only the Jets. Oh, we couldn't find room for him. Good player, never worked out. Boom, goes to another team and already has done more there than he does here. Like only the Jets, they can never find, and we've always talked about this. The Jets for years now, they can never find ways to like, it's only like one or two guys that always ever do anything on the Jets offense. And then everybody else just doesn't do anything. They go to like, there's every good team across the NFL uses everybody. Only the Jets, they use like two guys on offense and that's it. Mike Williams, prime example of that. The red line, Rodgers and him not on the same page, whatever the heck it is, goes to Pittsburgh, makes an immediate impact. Just so pathetic. So it's where we're at. And this is exactly why I said it last week. I was not getting my hopes up after one win. 3-6, you still had such a big hole to climb out of. I said it last week and I'll say it again. This team needed to get to 500 for me to believe again. And here we are, 31-6 loss, and they're 3-7. And they're right where they were last week. And instead, all last week will probably be in the long run is we'll look back on it and say, that's a game that will affect draft positioning. Because it probably will. And the Jets will screw up their draft position. It'll happen. They'll probably beat the Colts next week. And they'll get to like 4-7. And then they'll maybe beat, I don't know. They'll probably split against Miami, get to like 5 wins. They might beat like Seattle. They'll probably beat Jacksonville, get to like 6 wins. Watch them go into Buffalo and like upset Buffalo to get the 7 wins and then really tank their draft stock. They'll win like 6 games. So they'll be like pick 8 or 9, and they're not going to be anywhere good enough to get a Jalen Milroe, a Cam Ward. Don't really like the guy much, but a Shedeur. I don't think Shedur's, I would not a big Shedeur guy, but I'll do all my quarterback research here soon. But Milroe had a great game last night. He looked great. I like Milroe a lot. And he reminds me, personally, Milroe reminds me a little bit of like a bigger Jaden Daniels. Just his running ability is something that we saw to Daniels last year. Milroe, he's a little bit bigger, got a little bit more meat on him. And I like Milroe a lot. I also like Cam Ward, but to me, I think Cam Ward is probably, if it's a quarterback needy team, like if, and I know the Patriots won today, but like, he's probably going to go number 1 overall, unless if like the Patriots or somebody get the number 1 overall pick, then they'll probably go like Travis Hunter because they've got Drake May. So, but I think Cam Ward will probably be the first one off the board, and it'll probably be Milroe and then Shedeur. Or who knows? Maybe teams go with the name and say Shedeur. But 6 wins is not going to be, with 6 wins, you're not going to be in range to get one of those guys. You would have to trade up. So from a tank perspective, the Jets can't win many more games if you want to go all in on the tank. You're probably looking at most, if you look at Tankathon right now, and I won't keep you all here because I'll have a video. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about this week. I do plan on making a video on some GMs to target, some coaches to target. I plan on making that video if they lost to Houston. I got all the notes ready for it, but when they beat Houston, I decided, you know what, we'll keep it all for another week. But in terms of the order right now, it's Jacksonville, Giants, Tennessee is the top 3. So Jacksonville, I mean, they just paid Trevor. They're not going to draft a quarterback. So it would probably be the Giants. Tennessee will probably take a quarterback. Cleveland might there. So boom, right there, picks 2, 3, and 4. Vegas is one. He's going to want a quarterback. Jets right now stand at pick 9. So they got a lot more work to do. The one thing that the Jets do have a favor over is their strength of schedule. It is weaker than Vegas, Cleveland, Tennessee, and the Giants. So, however, it is stronger than New Orleans, New England, and Miami. I do think Miami will start winning now. So if the Jets do like really tank here and properly tank, and they only finish with like 4 wins, they could get themselves in a position where they find themselves inside the top 5, especially strength of schedule wise with the way the tiebreaker could be set up here. Now New England would still have the tiebreaker. Just looking at it because they do have a smart strength of schedule. But you look at the top 3 teams like the Giants If the Jets and the Giants finish with the same record, I believe the Jets would have the better pick because they got the weaker strength of schedule. So anyway, here we are. November 10th, we're looking at Tankathon. We're back. So that'll do it. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. And I'll have a lot more content the rest of this week. Probably have some maybe coaching episodes up, some GM episodes up. I'm sure eventually here, maybe not this week, but maybe next week, we'll see some quarterback episodes up on what the heck they will do with Rodgers, what's next in the future, who I like come out of college. I'm sure get some of those up on the channel here. So that's it. Another season down the drain. Jets fall to 3-7. And now, thank goodness the Jets Colts got flexed back into 1 o'clock because, first of all, I don't want to stay up all night watching the team. And then second of all, nobody in America needs to watch that matchup. So 1 o'clock, get it over with. You'll be done by 4, can enjoy the rest of your Sunday. So that'll do it. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you all still tuning in even through this terrible season. As always, through the highs and the lows, JTS, Jets. See you guys soon.